I'm Chance Dorland, and this is the Spurs Insider, our weekly NBA podcast from expressnews.com, brought to you today by the law offices of Thomas J. Henry, joined now by San Antonio Express-News Spurs beat reporter Jabari Young. Jabari, there are still some questions out there, but definitely a time to celebrate. The Spurs have made the playoffs. They beat the Kings to clinch that spot on Monday night. You were there. Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, it was first of all, it was an impressive comeback. That the Spurs started that game off the way they started off. Nobody, I don't think, in that arena or very few people probably thought that they were going to win the game. I mean, they were outscored 25-17. The Kings were just hot, had nothing to lose, and the Spurs, they just came out a little sluggish. And even Manu Ginobili even said after the game, after this win, that they were a little tense, maybe under pressure just a bit. Not sure, whether or not, how everything was going to go. And I understood, after the game, I asked one of the players, I was really shocked. And I said, come on, man, against the Kings, y'all got to beat the Kings. And he said, man, listen, when have we ever smacked anybody this season? We're just not that team. We don't blow teams out. We it takes us a while to get established. And, the defense had to really come around and that's that. But we didn't panic. We knew that they weren't going to come out and, they weren't going to be hot in the second half like they were in the first half. And our shots are going to fall and, everything was just going to work out. So, that had me thinking like, okay, this is what we see from the Spurs, in the playoffs. If they're down 14, 16 points, then you shouldn't panic because they're keeping their composure. They know that once they start to execute, once the defense rolls around and they start to lock things up, that they'll be in good position. They may not win the game, but they're not going to get blown out. And so, that game against the Kings was just it was an impressive victory because they overcame a deficit. Manu Ginobili was phenomenal. Bryn Forbes, after all of the fatigue and the little slumps that he was in, coming off the bench scoring 11 points was really, really good. And as we'll get to, I'm sure in a minute, is Rudy Gay was just, good too. So, it was a good win. It was a good, solid win. You know why? Because the Spurs took things in their own hands. They didn't leave it to another team to win or lose. And they would have been disappointed last night because both the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves won. So if the Spurs would have lost that game against the Kings, then it would have come down to Wednesday for them to get in. So, like I said, just a good overall, not an overall solid win, but just a win that, they need it. They need it because they were able to control their own fate and not leave it in the hands of another team. So now that that's out the way, they just got to concentrate on making sure that they're solid heading into the postseason where we know that they're headed.
Yeah, you used the term phenomenal just a moment ago. Also mentioned a guy named Rudy Gay. He's back. We're going to talk about why that's so important for the Spurs. But first, let's hear from another Spurs player who had a great game against the Kings.
We don't have that many players that you can give them the ball and something's going to happen when you are stagnant, when things don't flow as you expect. And we have LaMarcus and Rudy. The rest of us, we need the ball movement. We need to create a feed off each other, and it's great when things are not going your way to have a guy that you can rely on and create off the dribble, off the catch. Is very important. Today he really provided. I think he's for 18 20 minutes or something like that. So yeah, huge.
That, of course, was Manu Ginobili on the play of Rudy Gay, talking about his teammate playing against his former team and how that helped the Spurs clinch their playoff berth. Gay was inserted in the second half around 6:38 of the third quarter and then scored 16 points in 14 minutes, helping his team outscore the Kings 50-27 from that point on. As you talked about, Jabari, a comeback. This marks the second time in the last few games that Gay has come alive for the Spurs, and he says he's back now, fully recovering after that Achilles tear. But Jabari, is that the case? Obviously, that's a bad injury.
It was a bad injury, and for the first time in a long time, I think, Rudy Gay, obviously he started the season, and we knew that, hey, the fact that he's even walking and playing on time is really impressive. But you knew that just because he stepped on the court that he wasn't going to be fully where he is right now. Rudy Gay is back. His explosiveness is there. The confidence in his body's there. The mental part, I think he's overcome the mental hurdle. That injury that he suffered, that's more of a mental as well as a physical thing. Obviously the physical part of it, you tear it, you got to go through surgery, you got to go through, hard rehab to get right. And then you got to overcome the mental part. You got to overcome that mental part that when you jump in the air, Chance, that you're not going to come down and nothing's going to be wrong. And then he had to overcome, the other body, injuries that he had to suffer. He had that sore right heel. So for the first time in a long time, he's back and he's healthy. And I think this is coming at a critical point right now because the Spurs, as we just heard Manu Ginobili say, there's only two people in that locker room that can get the shot. Okay, and I'm not even sure LaMarcus Aldridge is counted in that because, LaMarcus can get his shot, but he gets in certain areas of the court. But Rudy Gay can get his shot from wherever on the court. That's the difference. He can hit the three. He can take you off the dribble. He can get into the lane. He has that soft touch around the basket. LaMarcus can post. He can, really get down inside. He can do all his work inside of the lane and really making things tough for other bigs. But Rudy's the only guy who can get his own shot off. And everybody else needs that ball movement. They need, all of the other things for them to get their shot off. But Rudy is that guy who can get you on an ISO one-on-one play. And that's going to be big because when you got teams in the playoffs, and we talked about this, they're going to double LaMarcus Aldridge. They're not just going to let him go and do work. They're going to double him, and they're going to make other players beat them. And now that you have a guy who can get his own shot and Rudy Gay, who's explosive again, that's only going to help the Spurs, because Kawhi Leonard, we obviously know his situation. That's one that you lost. And now you gain something back in Rudy Gay. Is Rudy Gay Kawhi Leonard? Absolutely not. But he is Rudy Gay. He can hold his own. And he's back to that guy who can get 20 points in his sleep. So I think that's going to be needed. The key is can Rudy continue to do it on the defensive end, because that's the only thing that's keeping him off the court, especially late in the fourth quarters, because the Spurs don't, think that they didn't trust his defense enough. But I think it's getting to the point now where even he's not as effective, or maybe he's not the stopper that you want him to be, you still got to have him on the court because they need his scoring. And in the playoffs, you got to score the basketball too. And Rudy Gay can do that. And so, like I said, he had a big game against the Rockets. And then on Monday night, being able to close out his former team, getting put into the third quarter and going on that run and helping the Spurs close that game out and clinch the playoff berth. That's big. And Rudy Gay, he deserves a lot of credit, because without him, I don't think the Spurs win that game last night.
Now, Jabari, we've talked about this before, so I'm interested in this next one. You have talked about the greatness that could be had if the Trailblazers encounter the Spurs in the first round.
Yeah.
But you think now the Spurs should want OKC. However, unlikely that matchup may be. So explain that to me. You're saying OKC is better than the greatness of the Trailblazers that we've talked about before.
Yeah, you know what? It took me a minute to realize this matchup, but this is the matchup that I think if they had to play, and like I said, and you just mentioned that, it's a little bit unlikely. It's probably going to come down to the Utah Jazz, who I don't think the Spurs want any part of, as well as the Portland Trailblazers. And I think that would be a phenomenal series that can go 7 games. But here's the thing. I like a matchup against OKC. You know why? Because the Oklahoma City Thunder play undisciplined basketball. They don't play the type of basketball that the Spurs should fear. On paper, they look good. They got Paul George, who's one of the best two-way players in the game. He can score 20, 25, 30 points in his sleep. Carmelo Anthony, who despite the fact that he's not doing it like he used to, can still put the ball in the hole, still one of the legit scorers, especially when he got it going. And you got Russell Westbrook, one of the most dynamic point guards in the NBA, right? But even all of that, not even let me not count on a guy named Steven Adams, who can bang down low with the best of them. But even all of that, they still are fighting for they fought for their playoff lives all season long. They just clinched on Monday the same way the Spurs did. Now with a roster like that, you would have thought they would have clinched a long time ago. But here it is, coming down to the wire. The next to last game to end the season, and they just clinched. So, like I said, I'm not so sure that the Spurs should fear the Thunder, Because, again, they play undisciplined basketball. They know Russell Westbrook is going to win you a game. He's going to lose you a game. And that game that he loses you might turn out to be the difference. So, with that said, that's not to say that the Thunder shouldn't be respected. They should. But I just think that the Spurs, they play discipline while the Thunder don't. The Thunder will make mistakes, critical mistakes throughout the game. The Spurs will make you pay for those mistakes. Greg Popovich, one of the more strategic, one of the best strategic coaches when it comes down to the playoffs, will find out how to say, you know what? You go ahead, Russell, and you maybe get what you get, but we'll worry about Paul and we'll worry about everybody else, and we'll try to stop them. We're not going to contain you, but everybody else will try to contain. And if that's the strategy, who's to say that wouldn't work? Against the Blazers, it's completely different because, you got Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, two of the most dynamic guards, and that's a hard cover for the Spurs. Okay, they've even admitted that. It's very difficult to cover. And when the Blazers are knocking down their threes, I know they haven't been playing well lately, but when the Blazers are knocking down their threes and McCollum and Lillard going, that's a hard team to beat. Okay, Utah Jazz, my God, I mean, look what they're doing. I mean, first of all, congratulations to that team. Lose Gordon Hayward, have their roster completely made over and still being able to make it to the playoffs. And at a very good seed because they got a young guy named Donovan Mitchell who is a baller. Okay, Rudy Gobert, Ricky Rubio, who has been, really played well for them this season, and a roster and a great coach in Quinn Snyder. The Utah Jazz are not to be played with. They're to be respected in this playoff because they have had one of the more phenomenal second halves of the season and that I've seen from a team in a long time. And again, losing your franchise player in Gordon Hayward and still able to make it back to this point, impressive. So that leads to Oklahoma City Thunder. Again, I just don't think the Spurs should fear them. I think when the Thunder came into the Spurs building 2 weeks ago, you looked at that game and you said, you know what? Yeah, I'm not so sure the Thunder is that scary because you could tell the chemistry's not there. They're not gelling the way that you thought the team would gel. And so if it came down to Spurs Thunder in the first round, the distance isn't bad. OKC's right next door, so you don't have to travel all the way to the West Coast or a mountain.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, I like that.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So, like I said, if it comes down to that, I think the Thunder can be taken out by the Spurs in 6 games. I do. People are going to say, they're going to listen to this, say, oh, are you crazy? No, I'm not. Look at that game against OKC, when they played the Spurs, and tell me that you fear the Thunder. The Spurs shouldn't fear them. They shouldn't, and I think they can beat them.
Now, to perhaps play devil's advocate here just a little bit, to clarify, you're saying that OKC makes more mistakes than the Spurs, right? Because I think it's obvious that the Spurs do make mistakes, especially the fourth quarter.
Well, again, the Spurs are not going to blow anybody out. That we know this, okay? They may have a game where, a team is giving up in the fourth because maybe they're just not gelling, or a game that we saw, like against the Kings where maybe they're down and they just come back. But what I'm saying is that the Thunder have a tendency to make bad decisions at horrible times. And you can't do that in the playoffs where every possession is magnified, especially in the fourth quarter of a close game. You don't need Russell Westbrook taking a bad three because he wants to play hero ball. You need him making the right play. And at times, he doesn't make the right play. Again, no disrespect. He's a great player. He's a great player, phenomenal player. But everybody knows he doesn't always make the best decisions when it comes down to it, because I think that's where his talent, he's so good at times where I think he just he maybe overwhelms himself at times and not making a good decision, especially when you have a guy like Paul George and Carmelo Anthony around you. It comes down to trusting the other guys on the court. And I don't think Russell has shown that ability to do that consistently for 48 minutes. There's still those times where he'll just make too many bad decisions. And we saw that firsthand when the Spurs played the Thunder 2 weeks ago. A lot of bad decisions. If he cuts down on those decisions, maybe Oklahoma City wins that game, but again, he just doesn't make the solid decisions with the basketball all the time. He just doesn't. And stuff like that will be the difference between winning and advancing and losing and going home.
All right. Well, maybe a north-south first round playoff between OKC.
I hope not. I don't want it to go to OK.
Oh, you don't?
I just want to go to town.
Your heart and then your brain one way versus the other.
I'm saying it would be a great matchup for the Spurs, but I don't want to go to OKC. I don't like OKC was a fun town at one point, but I don't want to go to OKC. First of all, there's no direct flight. There's no direct flight from San Antonio. There's no direct flight. I don't want to go to no. Give me Portland. I might even take Utah, but no OKC. No, that's okay. Thank you, but no thank you.
I've driven through Utah. It was beautiful. Stopped to get gas. That's the only thing I got to add to the conversation.
Yeah, not a bad place. It's not a bad place. It's boring too, but it's not. I prefer Portland, not only because I used to cover that team, but it's just a great town, great food. Utah, you'll deal with it, but OKC. The only thing I would say OKC over Utah is that it's a shorter flight, and you can get home in a shorter time, and the travel isn't that bad. But other than that, no.
I like this. More sports people should be talking about how the playoffs fit into their likes. They're talking about the teams.
Why not?
I like
Why
that,
not?
Jabari.
I gotta be there too.
We're expanding our horizons on today's episode.
I gotta be there too.
No, I get you, man.
I gotta be there too.
No criticism at all. I'm complimenting what I'm hearing. That's all we're doing here.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna end things out here, but the podcast goes on for quite a few more minutes now. We are closing out now with Jabari's conversation with Derek White, who recently helped the Austin Spurs advance to the G League playoffs. He recaps his rookie season. So, Jabari, great to have you back here on the program. Think where we were just a handful of weeks ago. Obviously, still more time, more things to be decided, but the playoffs, they have been gotten to by the Spurs. So great to have Jabari here on the program once again with some positive outlook for perhaps OKC or a more exciting town. We'll leave it at that. Jabari, great to talk with you, and we'll end out with your conversation with Derek White. Talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, Chance.
Jordan told me you had a 4-hour delay in L.A.
Well, in San Antonio.
In San Antonio, right?
Yeah.
So my mistake, you flew to Staples Center, and you had a 4-hour delay in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Flew there, then flew back and dropped 35.
Yeah.
What's that adventure?
It was a pretty crazy day, especially getting to L.A. With the flight getting delayed, and then that flight getting canceled, so I had to get on a different one. So it was pretty crazy. And then the next day, I just tried to rest up as much as I can before the game, and I got a little bit of a nap before, so that kind of helped me. But when I got to the gym, I just had to get ready to go.
Was a part of you mad that they didn't give you a private flight? Like, come on, man. I've been playing so well and awesome for y'all. Y'all can't give me a private flight. Was you're like, I can't believe this. I know private. Because if it was Tony Parker, I guarantee you they'd have a private flight.
Yeah, but I'm just a rookie, so I can't really compare to Tony Parker. But, yeah, I mean, it's tough with the delays and everything, but, traveling, I used to be on buses all the time, so, it's a little different flying like first class, or I'm up there kind of comfortable compared to the bus like I did for 3 years D2. So if anybody's equipped to do it, I think I was.
Tell me, could you have imagined that you guys are right where you are? I watched the game the other night that you guys played to get to the finals in the G League, and your first year, y'all going there, y'all make it. What was that experience like? What was it like to celebrate that on the court with your teammates, being as though this is your first year?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We got a special group down there. Everybody cares for each other. Everybody wants the best for each other. So that makes it really easy for me to come in there and just be welcomed by everybody. So I'm thankful for the team that we got down there. And, we play the right way. We compete offensively, defensively. So it's been fun.
Is the nerves starting to build up a little bit? Because now that y'all there, it's like y'all have to win it, right? And y'all might be y'all might be the only Spurs team to win the championship. You guys may not make it to the finals this year, the pro team, but the G League team is doing so well. It's like the nerves kicking in.
Right now, I'm not really too nervous, but maybe for the tip, I might have a little bit of nerves, but we'll see.
Yeah.
That just means that you're playing for something, so that's always exciting.
Did the playoff format take you back to college because it's like one and done? Like if you lose, you're out of there. So did it take y'all back to college at all?
Yeah, it was. That's kind of crazy that you have one bad night and your whole season doesn't really mean much. But it's win or go home, so you really got to show up each day and compete because it could be your last game.
Yeah. Being as though that you are, a guy who has been drafted by the Spurs, so you're down there. Did you take yourself this season, even though this is your first year? Did you kind of take that role as a team leader?
Yeah, people came up to me and said that they want me to be more vocal or be more of a team leader. So I've been trying to do that down there. And, we have like Nick Johnson, Jeff Ledbetter, so people like that kind of helped me along the way. And it's been there for me throughout the whole year. So it definitely wasn't me alone, but I tried to be as much bully as I can.
Yeah. How difficult was it because you were there? I know you don't want to overstep your bounds, you're stepping anybody's toes, but how tough was that to maybe take that role on?
Yeah, it was, especially at the beginning of the year, because I'm not really down there much, or I don't really know these guys that much, and they kind of already have their own thing, so I'm just kind of stepping in. So that was kind of weird for me to come down there and like be myself and do something. So once I kind of got more comfortable with the guys, and they welcomed me in, so it was a smooth transition after that.
Take me to that game in Golden State, man, because a lot of people saw that game. It was a Saturday game, national TV, and you held your own. You played really well. I know they were out without Steph late, but you guys had a chance to win that game. But people watched that game and they said, "Yo, this Derek White dude he's money. He's legit." That's what I get on Twitter all the time. What was that game like for you? National TV against the defending champs.
Before the
you're
game,
laughing right now, but I know you. I know you feel it. Something's in there.
Before the game, I kind of knew that I was going to be playing, so I was kind of nervous a little bit. But I just want to go out there and compete. That's like the highest stage, the biggest stage right now against the defending champs, the MVP, the units, and all that. So I just want to go out there and compete and not try to back down to anybody. So just go ahead and compete. And I played all right. Something I can just learn from and just continue to build on.
You get your name called, you get subbed in, and you're bringing that ball now. What's that feeling like? I know it's hard to describe because you're in the moment, but if you had to look back on it, how can you describe that feeling? You're bringing the ball now, and you got Kevin Durant, Draymond Green. They're looking at you, and this is your first year in the league, and they're looking at you. You're on the NBA level now. Does it get any better than that?
Yeah, it don't get any better than that. Patty got in the foul trouble early, so
yeah.
I got thrown in there a little earlier than I thought I would get in there. But I just want to go in there, and Coach always thought about just being solid, not try to do anything outside yourself. So I just want to go in there and run the offense, try to make the right plays.
Is that hard, though, not trying to get outside yourself, knowing that you have the potential? You maybe got to play. You say, I can get to the hole here, but you also don't want to make a mistake. You want to be solid. Is it hard trying to balance that, being yourself as well as being solid?
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the year I kind of struggled with it, but as the year's gone on, I've been more comfortable not thinking as much, just going out there and just being aggressive and attacking like I have my whole life. So at the beginning I kind of was thinking too much, like I don't know if I should do this or that, but now that I've played more games and played some in the G League and all that, I just feel more comfortable out there.
Yeah, that journey right now, take me, what's that journey like, man? You've had games where you played in the G League, you got called back and forth. Maybe you're driving home from Austin one night only to come here, go to practice the next morning, and then you drive right back a couple days later. Yeah. What's that process been like for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy, all the travel, driving back and forth from Austin to here. But I think I kind of now know where I'm going. I'm more comfortable now. So the beginning of the year kind of was thrown back by how much I was traveling, but now I just take it each opportunity, and wherever I'm at, just try to I just have things where I be here now, so just be the best I can be where I am right now. So
yeah. Did anybody, did RC, anybody say anything to you, compliment you on the season that you've had up in Austin? Because it's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, Pops says good job, and each time he sent me down, he's like, you're going to get 30 minutes, you're going to be able to just continue to improve down there. So just keep going, keep being aggressive, and try to continue to play the right way. How
do you do that, though, man? How do you go down there? You grab 30 minutes, right? And obviously competitors, they're looking at it like, hey, this guy comes from San Antonio, I'm down here, and, he gets to play 30 minutes, I'm not. Yeah. How do you balance that to make sure that your teammates are everybody's still one group? Because you come down, because you're a rookie, because you're a prospect, you're getting a majority of the offense running through you. Everything's going through you with Darian and Jerron, as well as Matt Costello. Y'all are going to get a majority of things. Mm-hmm. So is it tough to maybe keep other teammates off you, or is it that balance? Is that hard?
I'm sure it'll be hard on other teams, but it's been real simple with this team. I think it starts up top with Blake. He's been amazing keeping us all together. Yeah. He has experience playing in the D League or G League, and so he knew what it takes to be successful. And then just the guys we got on that roster, they each care for each other. Like, we got Jordan Green, Tucker, Daniel, all these guys that don't really play too much. But they've just been each and every day there and supportive, and it's been a lot to me, and it's made that transition easy.
Yeah, your first year in the NBA is ready to wind down. A couple more games left in this pro level, and then the G League. Is it everything that you thought it would be, or is it anything that took you by surprise at all? Surprising, maybe not surprising?
Yeah, I mean, this is a dream come true, just to be up at this level, so I just want to make the most out of it. I mean, it's kind of surprising how big some of these guys are. Like, the TV don't really do it justice. Yeah. So just being able to see it up close and personal, I mean, it's going to be able to help me improve in the future. And I just learned so much up here and down in Austin. So it's been a great first year, and I'm looking to just continue to improve and finish off strong here.
If y'all don't win a championship, is it a failure? I know that's a strong word,
yeah,
failure.
Tough, but
nothing's not a failure because y'all made it here, so it's like a success in a way. But y'all got all the way here to lose it.
Yeah,
how would that be?
Yeah, that's disappointing if we didn't win it all, especially because we've put in so much work to get to this place, and we've been one of the top teams all year. So it'd definitely be disappointing if we didn't come through. But failure's kind of strong, but. I mean, I feel like if we go play our game and do what we do, it'll be good for us.
Now, one last thing. You obviously played a handful of games on pro level. Who's the toughest guard? Who's the toughest guy you had to guard thus far this season?
I mean, Harden's pretty tough to guard.
Yeah. Is he tough to guard because you know that if you touch him, it's a foul?
Yeah, it's hard to guard with your hands like this. Yeah. And he's shifty. He's big, so he's going to body you, and it's tough, but he's tough to guard. I mean, KD, it's just his size and everything. Obviously, he's tough. I mean, there's a lot of tough guys, and Steph, Clay, just to name a few, especially the games that I was in. So.
Yeah, but Harden probably takes the cake, though.
Yeah,
because it's hard. You said your hands are up. It's hard to guard him because you know if you put it down, he's going to take advantage of it.
It's hard because you're kind of worried about fouling. Yeah. Like, I don't want to foul, but then you still got to play defense. So that's what makes it difficult.
And that's Derek White of the Austin Spurs talking about their advancement to the G League playoffs. Thanks again to San Antonio Express-News Spurs reporter Jabari Young for joining me for today's episode of the Spurs Insider, our weekly NBA podcast from expressnews.com, brought to you today by the law offices of Thomas J. Henry. For expressnews.com, I'm Chance Dorland.